Tonight on Garbage Time Fantasy Football, we have the return of JJ. We're doing Week 13 reviews where we're doing it from our nice warm houses, unlike the Patriots of Buffalo who are playing out in the nasty weather tonight. And there's some owed apologies, right, JJ?
That's what I hear. I wasn't here, but always love apologies.
That's right. So let's get into it. It's time for Garbage Time. Guys, welcome into Garbage Time Fantasy Football. We have a two-man show tonight for the Week 13 review. How are you doing tonight, JJ?
Doing good. It was a boring Monday at work, but I'm happy to be back on the pod. Missed you guys in that week off, so happy to be here.
Yeah, we missed you too. We saw you a little bit in the apology last week. Is there anything you'd like to say to the heckling fandom so you can move on in silence?
I was coerced into making that apology, and it was a lie, so...
Yeah, okay. And speaking of silence, you owe us an apology. Specifically, you owe Ron an apology. You said that Jonathan Taylor wouldn't get 12 points in full PPR format, and he had well over 12 points in full PPR format. So we'll be waiting for that apology. So thank you, and entertain the heckling fandom for us. So leave a voicemail at www.garbagetimeff.com. Ron was gracious enough to say that you could give whatever you wanted for the apology, so we'll kindly be waiting for it. You can talk shit in the comments about it, but we still need the apology, okay, of some variety, and we'll play it live on the show, just, for our entertainment, our sick entertainment. Anything you want to say, JJ, before we get into the news?
The Bears suck.
Well, that's just kind of a given. You were playing the Cardinals. They kind of make everyone look bad. So with that, let's get into the news.
News updates.
All right, there is a whole host of news and not good news this week, too. Keenan Allen just went on the COVID-19 list, and that was within the last few hours. So I'm pretty fucking pissed about this. He's my number one wide receiver right before playoffs, so I'm very convinced I'm probably not going to have him for the first week of the playoffs. What's this going to do to teams around fantasy football leagues, JJ?
Yeah, I think you kind of characterized it correctly. Most leagues are either starting their playoffs or getting ready to start their playoffs, and maybe they need that one more win. So obviously, if you have Keenan Allen on your team, he's a key piece and probably your wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2 if you have a really good team. So it's not good.
Dude, I'm a little bit scared right now. I'm waiting on him to come back for the first week of playoffs, which I don't even know if I'll have him. If he's vaccinated, potentially I'll have him that week. Dalvin Cook's on an injury. Luckily, Alexander Madison's playing well. And speaking of other wide receivers, I've got another one on my roster, too. Antonio Brown is rumored to not even rejoin the Buccaneers this season. That was getting floated out there this year. This might be fodder. What's your thoughts on this? Do you think there's any truth behind it? And should teams be looking to drop him for that extra waiver spot?
AB?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I have him in 2 other leagues, and I dropped him in both. So there was a report that he may not have a future with the team. After what he did, and obviously he's got to serve the suspension. It's tough because the Bucs, he's obviously still really talented, and the Bucs are going to be in the postseason, so they obviously want him, but at the same time, there's the moral dilemma and all that. I would guess that he's going to stay with the Bucs, but
I'm hoping so because I'd like him for Week 16, and luckily we have enough roster spots I should be able to fit him in, but I'm going to be thin on my bench going into those weeks, so it's going to be a little concerning. I'm very scared for playoffs. I'm there, but I'm not confident, especially with those last little bits of news I've just given you. Can't wait to see how the universe fucks me the next few days. All right, with Chase Edmonds, too, is expected to return in Week 14. Do you think this is going to do anything to James Conner's workload?
Yeah, I think, in his absence, you've seen Conner get way more involved in the passing game, so he made a sick one-handed catch versus the Bears that he ran in for a touchdown. So when Chase Edmonds was healthy, that was kind of his role. So Conner's done so well. It's kind of a shame that Edmonds is coming back. But I do think he's going to take those. He'll probably get 10 touches a game when he comes back like he was before. So
you don't think Connors has earned a little bit more of a role?
I do. I just don't think that they're going to just bench Chase Edmonds. Basically, I think he will get his touches. So.
Yeah, I kind of believe you're right there. Adam Theilen suffered a high ankle sprain against the Lions this week. Do you think this is going to make Tyler Conklin a very interesting red zone target going forward?
Yeah, I do. He's kind of already ascended this year, and Cousins definitely trusts him. So Thielen obviously was one of those big targets down there as well, and now without that there, I know in the game KJ Osborne and Jefferson both caught red zone touchdowns. So, but
yeah,
I definitely like Conklin going forward.
Who are you more interested going forward, Osborne or Conklin?
Conklin, probably.
I think that's a solid option too. He seemed to have a little bit more solid role in the offense too, and I really do like his red zone targets too. They seem to like to target him there too. In some quarterback news, Daniel Jones is likely out against the Chargers in Week 14. Is this play any defense against the Giants, even with Daniel Jones coming back maybe in Week 15, 16? Is it just they're the streamer to play against in the playoffs?
Yeah, I think they're playing the Chargers this week, so
you're not going to get them off waivers, but
probably not. I do like Saquon's outlook a little bit this week. He only had 11 carries in their game versus the Dolphins. I think that probably ticks up with Jake Fromm starting next week.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
Yeah. So, I agree. It's even with Jones, you could probably stream defenses against the Giants with this as bad as he's played.
Heckling fandom coming in hot already from the start. Sua comes in and asks, will Melvin Gordon play next week? What's your thoughts on this, JJ?
I certainly hope not, with the way Javonte Williams played last night.
Yeah, and that was an interesting question that I put in the notes of the podcast here, right in the title. Javonte Williams had an absolutely excellent game last night. We were going to talk about this a little bit later, but since we're already on the topic and Sua brought it up, what do you think Javonte Williams' role is going to be in the coming weeks? And do you love the outlook of this schedule that he has going forward?
Yeah, it's kind of something we've talked about. Melvin Gordon has just kind of hindered Javonte Williams this season. Like, everyone could see the blatant talent that's there. It was a great landing spot for him in the draft, and everyone was excited. But I think Gordon's 50-50 split kind of was a bit of a surprise for people. So I do think that he's definitely earned the right for more carries. So, and especially with Melvin Gordon, not coming back next year.
I believe his contract does extend beyond this year, but I could really see them trying to trade him for a late round pick, and I think that's actually what will end up happening as long as they front loaded that contract. Do you have any insight into that? Just for dynasty players?
For Melvin Gordon's contract?
Yeah.
This is the last year of his deal. He's not.
Oh, really? He's already. Was it
he's
a 2-year deal?
Yeah, 2-year deal last year, this year, and he's an unrestricted free agent. So
he'll make a little bit of money somewhere else.
Maybe.
So coming. Yeah, maybe. We'll see. Probably be in the committee with the Jets backfield. Sue has another question here. I have Cordell Patterson to Saquon, so I'm good on matchups for my running back. So this actually isn't a question. This is a statement. So you should be all right next week. I don't see anything wrong with either one of these options. Also, speaking of wide receivers coming off of IR, Julio Jones is designated a return. Is this interesting for the Titans considering they have nobody there at all?
Yeah, it's better than the undrafted free agents that they're playing right now. So
yeah. The only thing I'm concerned about here is just because someone comes off IR, you still have 21 days to activate them. So just because he's activated doesn't mean he's going to play this week either. And he's kind of been banged up all year. The way my roster's going, I've kind of got a feeling he may be forced into my lineup. We'll see. I'm hoping not, but hopefully a lot of our heckling fandom are going to be forced into those situations in the coming weeks. Hopefully you're nice and healthy going into your league playoffs. Tyrod Taylor, week to week, does this remove any viability of any Texans going forward?
Yeah, it looked like he damaged some ligaments in his wrist. So we talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago, but it makes no sense for the Texans to play him. Just see what you have in Davis Mills and let him get reps. Tyrod's not going to be your future quarterback. So I think he probably has started his last game for the Texans if I'm a betting man, but
Yeah, it's kind of my feeling too. And Sua over here bragging in the bottom of the comments saying, I have Cupp and Kyler playing 1 week from now, maybe James Conner 2, so 3. Yeah, you're in good shape going into the playoffs, Sua. You're going to be one hell of a hard out for anyone in your playoffs, it sounds like. And we kind of got that idea when you were laying down your roster last week too. So good luck to you, man. We're rooting for you. We want people in the heckling fandom to win, so good luck next week. Joe Burrow will play through a finger injury. That was reported late last night. It seems like all quarterbacks are getting finger injuries the last few weeks. Do you think this will affect him in any way?
I don't know. I was flipping back and forth on the Red Zone channel, and I actually saw a lot of that Bengals-Chargers game. So it looked bad. His pinky was swollen up really, really bad. So, and obviously on the sideline, he was like in a lot of discomfort. So I think he's just going to try and manage it. He seemed to throw it okay. I mean, there were a couple passes that probably came out a little slower than they would have, but I think he can still be effective. So,
unlike Taysom Hill, who's a tight end starting at quarterback.
Yeah, that's right, Joe.
But boy, he put up 28 points for me from that starting position. I may have to play him again next week.
I only threw 4 interceptions. Like, he's as good as Andy Dalton.
It's okay. He's still got 28 points. He can have 4 interceptions every week if he gets me 28 points. Jalen Hurts was already announced as the starter, I believe, for week 14 or 15, whenever he comes back healthy. Is there any quarterback controversy here with Philly? Do you think there's any chance that they're looking for an out to potentially draft someone or move with Minshew Mania going forward?
I mean, they came out again. Sirianni came out again today and reinforced that Hurts is their starter going forward. So I don't think there's a controversy. Minshew did play really well, but no offense, Joe. It was versus the Jets, who were missing Marcus Mays and a lot of pieces on the defense.
You're not missing pieces. You're playing against a Pee Wee League defense. They're going to need to spend their whole draft on defense, is what is apparently to be competitive next year. So, no, there's no offense to that. You're 100% speaking the truth. They need some help and a lot of it. And some more news, too. Darren Waller is day-to-day, so they may be looking to play other tight ends, too, who Foster Moreau did not produce that well this weekend, but doesn't mean he won't produce this week, too. I don't know if it was just a bad matchup against Washington, who is underrated as a defense.
Yeah, they're coming around a little bit.
Yeah, and some news that I find a little bit more interesting. Darrell Henderson has a muscle strain. And what's kind of strange about muscle strains is they tend to last for a few weeks. And what pissed me off is they didn't declare him out. So I kept him on my bench, and Sony Michel played out of his effing mind this week. So he's playing a Monday night game. So he may be forced into my lineup regarding the situation of my team anyway. But it's irritating as a fantasy owner, not really knowing what's going on with this running back situation. Would you have rather have just seen them declare him out? Or is this strategic? Like, what the hell are the Rams doing?
Yeah, it's pretty much bullshit.
It is bullshit.
I hate when teams do that. They make the guy active, like he's going to play, and then he just doesn't take a single snap. I think, if I'm not mistaken, someone notable it happened with last year. Maybe even Hopkins or somebody like that. I can't remember who it was, but we've seen it before. Notable guys it was it may not even been last year. It may have been 2 years ago, but Keenan Allen was hurt. And he was active, and he tweeted, "Play me in fantasy," and then he didn't record a single catch and screwed everyone over. So I hate that stuff.
Yeah, no. Sua says at the bottom, I don't care if Henderson is playing. I do, Sua, because I'd like Sony Michel in my lineup because he would significantly help right now. He's a very talented running back, and let Henderson get healthy for a few weeks. It'll help me out a little bit. So, Henderson, feel free to rest on your couch or on that bench for a few weeks as long as you're not in that game. Logan Thomas is out for the season. ACL, MCL, tear. Do you think this is a career ender for him?
I thought it wasn't a tear.
I believe it was. Did you get an update on that I didn't see?
Yeah, I thought today they did an MRI, and it wasn't actually an ACL tear.
I didn't see that update. So while you're looking that up, too, I'll go over some other news then, too.
Yeah. Ron Rivera, MRI indicated Logan Thomas did not tear ACL.
Is this still a season ender then?
Let me keep reading.
Okay. And some other news too, Corey Davis, season is over though. He's getting core muscle surgery, and I think this makes Elijah Moore a must start going forward too. He has been the number 2 wide receiver in all of fantasy football since week 8, which I found is a shocking statistic. So boy, did they actually make a good draft pick in the second round this year. What's your thoughts on Elijah Moore going forward?
Yeah, he's looks like a great pick for the Jets, and
Talking about time.
Glad to see him panning out. Looks like a stud. So
he does.
Yeah, going forward, I think he's definitely a viable start. No offense to the Jets, but they're in a lot of game scripts where they have to throw more than run the ball and control the clock. So he's going to stay involved and be a good player.
No offense taken. They suck, and that's the game script. But luckily, it's going to get a lot of experience with the younger quarterback who seemed to play well this weekend, which I was okay with. And some other news, too. In that same game, Miles Sanders did hurt his ankle, and he was having a monster game. What's the outlook of Miles Sanders, even though they're going into bye week this week?
Do we still have that glass thing?
It's somewhere in there. I'm definitely not looking for it, though. I'm not digging that far down our history to look for it.
Yeah, so pretty much glass. He's always hurt. Something about those Penn State running backs, him and Barkley, they're always banged up and hurt. So, yeah, it's a shame. It was nice to see Kenny Gainwell get back involved in the offense.
It was.
It's just baffling to me that they have not played him. So he's talented. It makes no sense. So,
yeah. Did you have that update on Logan Thomas?
Yeah, Rivera came out today and said that the MRI revealed it wasn't an ACL tear. There was damage, but it wasn't significant. So they're waiting for more. It wasn't extensive, and they're waiting for more tests to come back. So,
no, at least it won't be a career ender for him. It may potentially end the season. There's only 5 weeks left, but who knows? Maybe if they seek on the wild card, he could get in. Should they make a run? I don't see them making a run, but hey, this season's been weird as hell. It's possible. Lately. Yeah, Heineke does things when he's under pressure. He's a lot more underrated than people give him credit for. He's saved my ass in Dynasty in a league that I shouldn't have even been around the playoffs or sniffing it this year. Kenny Drake is out for the season, though. This is big time for Josh Jacobs now. He is going to get a significant workload in the passing game now. What's your thoughts on this going forward for Josh Jacobs?
Definitely positive for him. He actually looked, I caught a little bit of that game too. He looked pretty good running the ball. Saw him hurdle some guys, and he looked pretty good. Like you said, catching the ball too. So, yeah, I agree. Definitely increases his value. Though if you have Josh Jacobs on your team, you may not be in a playoff position, but who knows?
Mm-hmm. So Sua's got an interesting comment here, and I want to know what your thoughts on it were. He says, I'd rather start Sony Michel if Henderson isn't playing because Connors plays Vaughn, Aaron Donald, and Jalen Ramsey this coming week. What's your thoughts on this?
If Henderson isn't playing, Sony Michel versus the Cardinals, you saw Montgomery run on him. But I'd probably still play James Conner, especially if Edmonds isn't back yet. Just keep an eye on that. But especially if Edmonds isn't back, I'd definitely play Conner. But
interestingly enough, too, the Cardinals seemed to put it to the Rams last time they played them too. I think they're physical enough to actually stick with them, which I didn't think many teams would be. So that kind of surprised me. It might be an okay game script for him. I don't think you're going to get what happened to James Robinson last week. Listen, he was the only weapon that the Jaguars have, and they bottled him up. That's simply what happened. The Cardinals have a lot more weapons right now. They have to account for one hell of a quarterback there. So I don't think James Conner is going to be in a bad game script, even if they fall behind, because he's probably going to get the passing work this week. It'll take a little bit of time for Edmonds to get adjusted back into it.
Yep.
Yeah, he only plays on Chandler Jones. All right, guys, too, if you love this show, like it down below on YouTube, subscribe to the show, join the Heckling Fandom at www.garbagetimef.com. You can listen to us here on YouTube, Tunein, Iheartradio, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, anywhere you find podcasts, you can find this show. Leave us reviews on Amazon too. JJ, do you have any other thoughts before we get into the game previews tonight?
No, Damian Harris ran for a 64-yard touchdown though, so suck it, Ron. So I'm not going to beat you, but suck it.
All right, let's get into that drop that I internally feel after I heard the Keenan Allen news today. I was crying on my couch with my little Sam Darnold doll. So
teddy bear.
Yeah. So let's get into this first game too. Let's talk about the Chiefs in Denver, considering that's a game that's probably on the foremost of our minds right now too. So what the hell happened to this Chiefs offense? You're talking about Mahomes, who's the 11th quarterback in the year currently, and between Kelsey, him, and Hill, 5 catches for 49 yards. Did this Denver offense did this Denver defense just shut them down, or is this offense just completely out of sync?
It's just that I don't know. It's not a good situation.
Definitely not.
I think I looked at it last night. In the last 7 weeks, the Chiefs have had a bye week, and I think 5 of the weeks he scored like 16 points or fewer in fantasy. So I know.
And yes, to answer your question, Keenan does have COVID. Go ahead before I rudely interrupted you.
No, I think I covered it. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I'm in agreement here. It's just very unfortunate that the Chiefs' offense is out of sync. They're winning games regardless of that. It's because I think they have a very talented team on both sides of the ball, and they're pretty balanced now. And they seem to be okay with that. It's not that this offense isn't going to have breakout weeks. It is going to have breakout weeks, and they're heading towards the playoffs, so I think you'll see that. But it doesn't mean that you're going to have the severe dominance that you've had in the past years. I don't know if teams have figured them out. I don't think that's just the case, but I just think it's the symptom of an offensive line that hasn't really meshed over the year. They have a lot of young pieces that they drafted. They brought in some veterans. I don't know. They may have just thrown the water out with the sink.
No, I mean, part of it's definitely figuring it out. Like we've talked about it a lot of the season. Like the same personnel, it's the same Andy Reid scheme. Which, as a Bears fan, I can tell you, doesn't work when other people run it. So you got to adapt. So I don't know. The defense is playing better too, so they haven't been as desperate. But I guess even in the games that they were desperate, they couldn't get it going. So who knows?
Regardless, you're not benching any of these starters in the Chiefs offense going to the playoffs. You're riding and dying with them. That's just the way it is. And that's how any fantasy player is going to own it. You are ballsy as hell if you bench any of these players because they can torch anyone any given week. A little tidbit and interesting piece that I saw during this game is Darrell Williams seems to be getting involved in the passing work, even with CEH there. Do you have any thoughts about Darrell Williams going forward? Is he someone that you should stash on your bench?
You can stash him. I mean, we saw him fill in nicely when CEH was out hurt, so he's definitely viable. And obviously, if something happens to CEH again, which is very possible because he's an undersized back, he'd step right back into relevance. But other than that, unless I'm desperate in like a 16-team league or 14-team league, I probably am not starting Darrell Williams. So,
all right, and the only effective piece in this Broncos offense last night was Javonte Williams, who was impressive as hell. 102 yards rushing, 76 yards passing off 6 catches and 1 TD. Has he earned bell cow status for Denver going forward?
We touched on it earlier. It's going to depend how they view Melvin Gordon when he comes back, which to me makes no sense to I guess it does, but Denver's right in the mix for a playoff spot. So, I think Williams has been the better runner this year. He obviously can catch the ball effectively. It just makes no sense to keep rolling Melvin Gordon. So, I hope he stays bell cow.
Yeah. Should Melvin Gordon not be back next week, is Javonte Williams potentially a top 7 draft pick?
Next week?
Next year.
Oh, next year, 100%.
Yeah, I really see him flying him.
I think whoever took him in Dynasty is probably really intelligent.
Yeah, no, I think that was an excellent pick on their part too. So next we'll cover the Jets and Eagles. Just get this out of the way because I got to get through this pain every week. Like I said, I'll talk about the positives really quick. I really like Elijah Moore going forward. He's probably the only player that I'd like to get a jersey for. I've already got Elijah Vera-Tucker. He's another good piece. Again, number 2 wide receiver since week 8, 77 yards and a touchdown. Wilson looked pretty good. Still going through rookie growing pains. He's not so good in the second half, but very good in the first half. Starting to like the play calling that they're going. I think has a very good outlook in Dynasty going forward, considering if they're going to play offensive ball and just shit on the defense, which is I'm getting a sense is going to happen the next few years. So I think they're going to be in a lot of shootouts. Miles Sanders had a good game, as we already alluded to, and Dallas Goedert absolutely killed the Jets in the first half. I thought he had over 100 yards in the first half, but come to find out, he went 6 for 105 and 2 touchdowns. It was only like 90 yards in the first half. So, oh boy, good job, Jets defense. Any thoughts on any fantasy outlooks in this game?
Yeah, we kind of talked about more earlier on, but I mean, he had 12 targets, which was double the next closest receiver, which I believe was Jamison Crowder. So he's definitely Zach Wilson's favorite now. And that chemistry was kind of noted, I think, in camp, right? There was a Corey Davis.
Absolutely.
There was a Corey Davis love, but that was in the preseason game. But in camp, it was Wilson to Elijah Moore. So it looks like that's coming to fruition in the regular season. So that's good to see. And then at least on the Eagles side of the ball, Minshew was efficient. It was a lot of screens and stuff. He had those strikes to Goddard, but it was a lot of what's the word I'm looking for? Efficiency.
Razzle dazzle.
Yeah, a little bit, but a lot of efficient passing for Minshew. Nothing crazy with only 25 attempts. But
then again, if you were playing a Pee Wee defense like the Jets too, you would just be looking for efficient anyway. Don't take away from the credit I'm giving Gardner Minshew here too. He is a good backup, and I put him on the level of top 5 backups on any given team, and he can come in and win you a game in a pinch. He's very good, and I actually wouldn't mind him being the Jets backup next year. He'd be expensive, but we got the money, and I just love that mustache anyway. So, I mean, why wouldn't you want him on your roster? I think he would play into any team well. So, good job, Gardner Minshew, and you were effective even for fantasy this week, and I think anyone playing against the Jets will be effective for fantasy. So, look for those lineups on waivers in the coming weeks. The Lions, the Texans, absolutely fantastic to play against. The Giants, all horrible. So, look for those shitty teams in desperate matchups. Next game, we will go over the Chargers and Titans. T. Higgins heard everyone bitching about how bad he was for fantasy this season. And
Chargers and Bengals.
That's right. Chargers and I can't believe I wrote Titans. Chargers and Bengals, because T. Higgins doesn't play for the Titans. T. Higgins had 138 yards and a touchdown in this game, and he has had absolutely monstrous number in the last 2 weeks. What's your thoughts on T. Higgins going forward?
Yeah, it's up until the last 2 weeks, the story kind of was that I think I maybe even said this on the podcast. Oh man, it's been a Monday. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
We kind of talked about how he never has the monster game, and he must have heard us because he has had 2 consecutive monster games and looks like the number 1 again, like last year. So Chase, I think, is drawing a lot more attention from teams, and they're looking to take him away. And Higgins has certainly capitalized last couple weeks.
Okay, and before Keenan Allen got COVID, 5 receptions, 34 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Is this what he's going to do for teams in fantasy playoffs when he's back? Or is it going to go back to they're in more of his normal line where he's catching a lot of passes and not getting in the end zone?
I mean, he's got 4 touchdowns on the year, and that was 2 of them. So, but that's the thing about Keenan Allen. Like, even though he doesn't score, he has like 8 to 10 catches a game usually. So it saves you with that in PPR. So he's almost at 1,000 yards in the year too. I think he's 8th in the league in receiving yards. So he's had a really good year.
You'd like Mike Williams going in this week after his 110-yard game?
Yeah, I do. I think, they have Josh Palmer too. I don't know how they're going to fill the void of Keenan Allen. I don't know. He may not miss. It's possible he doesn't miss. But I would assume he's going to. But I don't know who's going to step in and be that 2. They got Guyton, who had 4 targets, 4 catches this past game. So I
might just fill with Eckler. Getting 15 passes.
Definitely something you can do.
Has there been a single player that has come back same week they were diagnosed with COVID? I don't think we've had a single one, have we?
I don't think so.
Alan, be the first. That would be lovely. I'd love to see you on the field this week. In this game too, Justin Herbert, absolutely fantastic week. Do you think we're going to see this kind of consistency the last part of the season with him?
Yeah, I do. He's a great quarterback. Before the game, there was a lot of questions that which quarterback would you rather start a franchise with, Herbert and Burrow? And a lot of people are saying Burrow, so maybe Herbert took that a little personally and put on a show. So
I think you should take that personal because I think he's a better quarterback personally than Burrow.
Yeah, right now, I mean, I'd probably take Herbert over Burrow. But
yeah, and for this week too, maybe for DFS or waivers, do you have any interest in Jalen Guyton, who had the 90 yards and a touchdown?
Yeah, probably. I mean, he's playing the Giants, and I know they have Bradbury, who covers the number one receiver a lot, so he could be with Mike Williams. Mm-hmm. And he can be beat deep with speed. So I do. Do you happen to know off the top of your head Guyton's DFS price this week? I don't believe they even have it out yet.
No, they do. Would they do it this early in the week?
Yeah, Monday they have they open the slate.
I will look at that. And why don't you talk about Joe Mixon's disappointing week this week and explain why funneling him in the middle of the defense didn't seem to work?
Yeah, I put a lot of stock in Mixon this week in DFS, and I should have known. It was a scary moment where he got hurt, and he hadn't scored or done anything notable. Oh, God, I can't stop yawning.
No, you're just going to fall asleep right here on the podcast.
I guess so. I'm not used to staying up this late. No,
it's because you don't have Ron over here to infuriate you and pump you up with those excellent takes.
No, yeah, just so everyone knows that I don't know if we've announced it on here yet, but I'm working on a special holiday special for Garbage Time Fantasy Football where we'll cover some of our older takes, and there's some pretty good stuff in there that I've found. So be prepared for that.
A treat for the heckling fandom. And here's this treat. Jalen Guyton is 3,400 in this following week. So might be playing him in some DFS lineups. That's pretty interesting going up against a sketchy secondary where he might have some good matchups.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Since you're giving the heckling fandom a treat, I'll give you a little bit of a treat here. Which game would you like to talk about next? Raiders and Washington or Lions and Vikings?
It's Lions.
Oh, yeah, finally got that win. Congratulations, Jared Goff, getting that giant gorilla off your back. Decent day, too, 296 yards, 3 touchdowns. Jamal Williams had an all right day, not bad. Got a little bit of work carrying and a little bit passing. Amon-Ra St. Brown had a very nice game here, 86 yards and a touchdown. So give us a layout of this game. What happened?
Lions just kind of came to play. They controlled the game, and they did their best to choke in the end, and it was very entertaining for Ryan, but in the end, they managed to pull it off. So good for them. They finally got the first win, and it was kind of an emotional game. I know they were supporting the school shooting victims and everything.
Yeah, that was nice to hear.
Yeah, so it was kind of a cool story. So good for Dan Campbell and the Lions. It's been a tough year. So
Hawkinson got into the end zone too, 4 for 49 and a touchdown. You think they get another win by the end of the year, these last 5 weeks?
Let's look at their schedule. They got the Broncos, the Cardinals, the Falcons, the Seahawks, and the Packers.
They might get one with the Falcons. I could see that.
That's the only game I think they have a shot at. They play Seattle, but Seattle looked pretty decent actually yesterday, and it's in Seattle, which is a tough place to go to. So,
who are they playing the last week of the season?
The Packers.
Well, if the Packers are out of the bye, I could see them resting their players that last week. I mean, they might get one. I'd like to say they might get one there, but I don't even know if they could beat the Packers.
I'll say they're going to win one more. I'd say one more. They'll sneak a win in.
Yeah, Alexander Mattison, even just messing around, looked more effective than Dalvin Cook. 22 carries on 90, 34 yards reception and a touchdown. You could throw either one of these guys in here, and it doesn't give a damn or matter which one is in there. I think I would rather, honestly, them shut down Dalvin Cook and then just play Alexander Mattison. I don't want to hobble Dalvin Cook going into playoffs. So take your time coming back. Come back healthy, and don't come back at all if you're not healthy. Just Alexander Mattison looked really good. What's your thoughts on him going forward?
Yeah, the Vikings the last couple of years have really built up that offensive line, and I think Cook is more explosive and has more speed, but they have a similar skill set, so Madison's able to slide right in there and be just as efficient. Mm-hmm. So I agree. They invested so much money in Dalvin Cook there's no need to rush him back if you're going to get that kind of output from Madison. So
yeah,
it's
no,
a short week for the Vikings too. They're playing Thursday.
It is, and you're resting him out for the playoffs anyway. They're right in the middle of the hunt anyway, and it's just as effective. I mean, coming against a loss for the Lions, not good, but you're still in the hunt. So just keep playing Madison. I honestly don't believe there's any drop off here. Jefferson, absolutely insane and had been on a tear. 11 receptions, 182 yards, and a touchdown. I wouldn't be shocked if he had another 200-yard game in his future. What's your thoughts here on him? Has he just been absolutely outstanding this season?
He's an awesome player. I think he's definitely solidified himself as a top 5 receiver in the league, especially with some of the more notable guys like Hopkins, seemingly. I know he caught a touchdown, but I don't think he's the same player he was a couple years ago. So I think he's solidified himself as a top 5 guy. He's a stud.
Any chance he's going to flirt with end of the first round potential next year?
Definitely. How many receiving yards is he at? He's well over 1,000 now. And we're what?
I believe he's pacing better than Odell did at this point on his career, if I'm correct, right?
He's up over 1,200 yards with I think we're 13 weeks in, so 4 games to go, 5 games.
Yep.
We're only 12 games in. So
no, we're 13 going into 14. Yeah, 12 games for him.
Yeah, so he's got 5 more games when he already has 1,200 yards. So
yeah, he's an impressive young receiver. Tyler Conklin also had a good week with that injury to Thielen. I don't know at what point he went out during this game. I don't know if this is why Conklin produced well, but Conklin will produce with him out, I think. 7 receptions, 56 yards. And Cousins having a very, very good season quietly, and nobody talks about it. 30 for 40, 340 yards, 2 touchdowns. Why the hell does nobody talk about Kirk Cousins? He seems to be even good for fantasy.
I don't know. I mean, the NFC North's kind of all about the Packers these days. So, and the Vikings are only 5-7, and they lost some heartbreaking games, so they're not super, super relevant right now. So he's not getting a lot of praise, but you're right. He's at almost 3,400 yards, has 25 touchdowns, only 3 picks. So he's having probably the best season a Vikings quarterback's ever had.
Yeah, so, you don't hear a damn word about it.
Nope.
All right, so with that, though, let's move on to the next one. Raiders in Washington. Heineke, 23 of 30, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns. Not bad. They won this game. Gibson seems to be coming on, though. So what's our boy Gibson doing?
He's playing like we thought he was going to play coming in the season. Ever since that bye week, he's just kind of stepped up for the football team and has really solidified his role as RB1. And McKissick being out definitely helps, too, as he gets those looks in the passing game. So.
Yep. Hunter Renfrow on the other side, too. 9 receptions, 102 yards. Yeah, I think he's got a few more 100-yard games in his future this season, too. You think so?
Maybe. With Waller out, he's definitely Carr's number 1 in safety net. So we saw as soon as Waller went out on Thanksgiving versus the Cowboys, Renfrow was the guy. And then that's why I played him in our DFS contest this week, because that's his number 1 without Waller. So Renfrow quietly having a good season.
I went with the cheaper options for the Raiders, like Zay Jones, because I spent up on all the running backs and that bit me in the ass this week. So let's hope that doesn't do the same thing to me this week in DFS. Maybe I'll have a little bit more balance of a team. Josh Jacobs, as we said, 13 carries, 52 yards, also had a touchdown too, got involved in the passing game. But with Logan Thomas being out, does this throw Seals Jones right back into that tight end 1 workload?
Yeah, whoever is the number 1 for the football team is relevant. Heineke has definitely proven that he likes to throw to the tight end. Saw a sick one-handed catch by Logan Thomas in the end zone. So especially down in the red zone, the tight ends are always getting targets for Washington. So
Seals Jones could be available on waivers, and Tyler Conklin could also be available on waivers. Which one of these guys are you more interested in for waivers this week?
I'd probably say Conklin, especially with Thielen out. It's going to be interesting to see. I didn't really touch on this in the Vikings game, but one of the things I'm interested to see going forward is how teams cover Jefferson without Thielen in there. Are they really going to double and triple team him and try and sell out on him to take him away and open up all the underneath stuff for Conklin? I think that's possible. So I'd say I like Conklin a little better than Seals Jones.
Any other thoughts on that Raiders and Washington game that you wanted to bring up?
Not really. We talked about Jacobs earlier with Drake going out. Jacobs had 9 receptions, so that's huge for his fantasy outlook going forward. So I think we covered everything. One more thing. Terry McLaurin has really been disappointing to me. So
yeah, I think that's a side effect of his quarterback. Unfortunately, his quarterback, well, I think is decent, and I think he's better than some of the. He's falls somewhere between that 25 to 32 range for quarterback. So he's a starting level quarterback, but he can't push the ball downfield, and that's what Terry McLaurin really needs as a quarterback. I think that'll help him push the ball downfield. So it would not surprise me if they're looking for a quarterback coming into next season.
Yeah, he's got 800 yards and I think 5 touchdowns. So he's having a decent season, but he hasn't broken out. He has, but he hasn't. It's just kind of a weird situation.
Might I say a Mitch Trubisky, maybe?
Potentially. I'd like to see Mitch go to the Steelers. But.
Yeah, he could work with there, I think. And anyway, we'll speculate about all that kind of shit in the offseason. I know you could talk about that for an hour. All right, so let's get to the other topics at hand here. Bucs and Falcons. So Brady doing fucking Brady things, which pisses me off. Retire. Go sell smoothies somewhere else, Brady. 38 for 51. 368, 4 TDs. So you're going to win the Super Bowl this year. And not by that, I mean fantasy Super Bowls.
Yeah, if you got him, you're probably in good shape. He leads the NFL in both passing yards and passing touchdowns. So that's, typical Tom.
Fournette, effective 48 yards, touchdown. 46 yards passing, too. Is Fournette going to be a league winner?
He's really come on. He's seemingly completely taken that job. So obviously in that offense, that's incredibly valuable. And Brady has been throwing it to him more often.
He does have tough matchups, I believe, though.
Yeah, I think he plays the Panthers twice. He plays the Saints once, and I think the Bills too. So they do have a decent schedule. Not decent, but difficult schedule to opposing running backs coming up. Mm-hmm. But go ahead.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I don't know what I was going to say.
All right, and I think fantasy owners are kicking themselves in the balls for not drafting Gronk this year. 2 touchdowns. Very, very effective. Going to take that work that Antonio Brown should be doing right now, but, I like to sign fake paperwork. Chris Godwin, 75 yards, 15 receptions?
15 catches, 143 yards.
Good ass week for him. Thoughts?
Yeah, he's just a beast. He's been the Edelman and Brady's offense a little bit this season, so he's having a great year. I hope the Bears sign him in free agency. Of course, I have to make something about the Bears here, but he's got 82 catches, 950 yards on the year. Stud. If you have him, you're probably in pretty good shape.
He was franchised once. There's potential they're going to have to let him go. I believe they're right on the cusp of salary cap hell, so there's potential for that to happen. He could also be a Jet because we have a lot of money.
A lot of it depends on Brady, too.
That is true because he could take a pay cut to bring him back.
Or just retire.
I don't think he's going to do that. He's going to, fingers crossed, but I don't think it'll ever happen. Who would have thought Mike Evans having a 99-yard game would go under the radar? He had a good game, too. Brady was effective all around to every single one of his players and made everyone happy. So let's just push that aside because we already know he's going to be effective. Russell Gage, 11 receptions for 130. What's going on? I hated him a few weeks ago. I brought him in for 1 week and instantly dropped him. So what's going on with Russell Gage?
Game script. Teams are also just selling out on Kyle Pitts, taking him away because he's such a threat, and it's just leaving Gage in consistent single coverage, and the opportunities are there. So Ryan's going to throw to the open guy, and he got open.
Yep, and Patterson has been doing Patterson things this season. He's consistent every single week. So if you got him off waivers this week, earlier this season, congratulations, because he has been a big part of your fantasy team. And with that, let's move to another one-sided game. Rams and Jags here. So The Jags were absolutely awful, but there is some outliers for better matchups for them going over here. O'Shaughnessy got some targets. He's a decent tight end, and the Jags like to throw to him, so he's an option, I think, going forward that you could potentially look at if you're really desperate, but this is more of a break the glass in case of emergency. Laviska Shenault got targets, not very effective ones, but like I said, they hit this buzzsaw of a defense called the Rams defense. I don't believe in Treadwell going forward. I understand he's had a few good weeks. I don't believe in him going forward. And Robinson was ineffective, but he's going to be the biggest piece of this offense going forward. Do you have any thoughts on this shitty Jags offense?
Fuck you, Marvin Jones.
Justin, what is up? Jets, Jets. Love my team, man, but shit, that was a bad loss. We were in that game, and we need to find a kicker. And
got one now.
Yeah. Well, tell us about our boy, since he's in the chat right here. Who's this kicker? You're familiar with him.
Eddie Pinheiro, former Bears kicker. Kicked a game winner in 2019, week 2 versus the Broncos. Or was it week 3? It was week 2 versus the Broncos.
All right. Our second Jets fan's got a question here. He's got a few, actually, I believe. Justin says, also, one league, I am up 7 in playing Devin, and I got Knox. Thoughts?
Devin.
Fill us in a little bit more, Justin. I think we're both having a blank here. Devin. Singletary? Got to be Devin Singletary.
Yeah.
I think you're fine. I don't think this game is going to be effective, and they're running with a committee. Knox is a safety net. Actually, I'm not currently watching the game, so I don't know the outlook. What's your thoughts? Are you watching the game currently?
I'm monitoring it.
I forgot the game was going on.
Singletary has not been effective, and Zach Moss is actually in carries now. So Singletary has 5 for 10.
Knox got anything.
Yeah, so I don't know. It's Knox has no catches. It's a tough outlook, but they're down, so they're gonna throw.
Yeah.
He's cheering against these guys. He's up 7. I think you got a real shot. Surprisingly, with the weather, it's
affecting the game from what it's looking like. One of the league, I'm up 36, and I'm playing Evan. You should be fine. You're up 36. I wouldn't be too concerned. Let's move on to our next little thoughts on this game too, which is the more important team here. The Rams, who Cooper Cupp had 8 receptions, 129 yards, and a touchdown. And the rest of this receiving core got involved again. Van Jefferson, 6 for 41 and a touchdown. Odell also got a touchdown on 2 for 28. Everyone's viable in these for this wide receiving core going forward, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Jefferson, Beckham, and Cupp are all obviously Cupp is viable. So OBJ caught a nice jump ball. He only got 5 targets, but they were playing the Jags. So Michelle ran it 24 times. I think next Monday night they'll definitely be throwing more. So
yeah. Oh, and I believe, Justin, you are part of the Heckling fandom, but if you're not, like and subscribe to the video before. That is the cost of admission. If you aren't already a Heckling fan, I believe you already are, though. Any other thoughts on this game? We already covered Sony Michel. Is he a viable starter next week? I understand he's playing next Monday night, which is a little bit concerning because it's late in the week, but you think you can still play him?
I don't know, because Henderson was active Sunday, and now he's got 8 days for the next game. I have to imagine that he's going to get some run on Monday night. So just monitor that and see where they're at. But
do us a favor and declare him out on Wednesday so we don't have to worry about it. But, teams don't do that kind of thing. So
no, they don't.
Strategic advantages, as they'd call it. Coaching outlook doesn't help fantasy football.
Gamesmanship.
Bullshit is what I call it. All right, let's move on to our next game here. 49ers and Seahawks. So Elijah Mitchell looked like he got hurt. Don't believe he did, though. 22 carries on 66 in a touchdown. So a lot of work here. Trey Sermon did leave the game and is hurt. Oh, God, such a disappointing rookie year. George Kittle, absolute monster. Screwed me on underdogs. I had 4 out of 5 for $15 bet for $300. I said Ayuk was going to have more yards than him. And, of course, this is the game that George Kittle had to come out. So I'm sorry, 181 yards, right?
Yeah, 9 for 181.
Yeah, so 2 touchdowns. So way to have a breakout game this week. Thank you for screwing me out of money, George Kittle. I really appreciate that. Ayuk was silent in the first half, but had 3 receptions in the second half. What's Ayuk's outlook going forward? And any thoughts on Kittle?
Kittle's savage.
Always savage.
Love George Kittle. He's also a Bears fan, so he's a good guy.
You see him in a Bears uniform in the future?
I wish we took Adam Shaheen, who's no longer on the team, in the second round in the 2017 draft instead of Kittle. Breaks my heart. But, yeah, Kittle's obviously a beast. Probably, I mean, with the way the Chiefs have declined, he's probably the number 1 tight end going forward in the season right now, the way that he's been playing. And
has he surpassed Mark Andrews yet, you think?
Yeah, I think so. The Ravens have really, since the Miami game, when teams have learned to blitz the Ravens, their pass game has declined from where it was at the start of the year for sure. So
yeah, they've gone down.
Put the report out on them. So yeah, I think Kittle is the one right now with the Chiefs kind of floundering. At least their offense, the team's doing well. But and then Ayuk, I think he's definitely still viable going forward. He's talented. The ball just didn't go his way this one, but he was still involved. So
yeah,
not too worried about him.
I'm going to need you to show up, son. I don't have Keenan Allen this week, likely don't have Keenan Allen, so you're going to need to show up this week for me, okay? Let's talk about the Seahawks side of the ball now, too. Russell Wilson look better to you?
Yeah, he's getting there. They just, besides that one weird run right off the beginning of the game for Travis Homer, their run game was completely ineffective, so it was pretty much all on Russ, so... Peterson somehow signs and has 11 carries, but only for 16 yards. So
he kind of looks like he's going to be the red zone guy, though. It's kind of the vibe that you got from him. Why they signed him, I don't know. I would rather get my young guys some experience. But hey, let's bring in the aging vet and try him out. I guess I have no idea what they're going for there. Apparently, they're still playing for the now. I don't think they're involved in the playoff discussion. But
they're only 2 games out.
If you're in denial, I guess we're happy for you. In this game, though, the wide receivers are pretty effective, too. Tyler Lockett, 7 receptions and a touchdown. DK, 5 for 60, but I think he'll have better weeks going forward. So what's your thoughts on these wide receivers going forward?
Lockett's just Russ's favorite. It's a shame because Metcalf's awesome. But they do play the Texans next week, so I definitely can see a get-right game for DK Metcalf next Sunday for sure. So just giving a little preview, he will be in my DraftKings lineup. I love his outlook next week. So
interesting as hell. And we're avoiding this running back, this shitty committee for the Seahawks going forward.
Absolutely.
That's right, guys. Don't play shitty committees. On to our next game, Ravens and Steelers. Don't worry, you'll get to talk about your Bears game right after this. Lamar, 23 of 37, 253. Got some work on the ground. Freeman, though, does look like the lead back for the Ravens. You like his outlook going forward?
Yeah. He's taken that job from Latavius Murray, who only had 2 carries for a yard. So he's definitely their one. Mm-hmm. So he's viable going forward. And yeah, he's involved in the pass game too. I think he had 5 receptions for 45 yards. So very viable.
Speaking of people who haven't been involved in the passing game, is Rashad Bateman droppable at this point?
1 target. So
yeah.
Since that Miami game, man, it's Lamar has been struggling with the extra pressure and heat teams are putting on him. So I wouldn't drop him. I'd look for him to turn it around. What's their schedule coming up? They got the Browns, the Packers, the Bengals, the Rams, and the Steelers tough. Again. Yeah, it's not great. So there's definitely better options out there right now until the Ravens figure it out.
Mark Andrews was effective as he always is. 4 receptions for 50. Could have got them the game-winning score. That was a very, very unfortunate 2-point conversion that he dropped right at the end. That was a bitch. Marquise Brown, all right. I think he'll have better weeks going forward, even up against these tough defenses. It's a tough outlook for them going forward. They really have to figure some things out. I am concerned about this offense a little bit, but I hope there's better weeks forward for them. What's your thoughts on this offense?
I mean, they'll be fine. Lamar's Lamar. He's gonna run. It was kind of inevitable that he was going to bring him down in the end of the game there versus the Steelers. It's just kind of what he does. So, especially this year. So, yeah, I'm not too worried. He plays pretty well against the Bengals and Browns historically. So, he'll be all right.
Yep, and on the other side of the ball too, Big Ben, who seems to have one foot out the door to retirement, took offense to those comments that they actually came out this week and had a pretty good game here, 21-31, 236, and 2 touchdowns, which is a good game for him this season. He's had a pretty bad year, but Deontay, man, started off not good in this game, but had a late push, 8 receptions for 105 yards with 2 DDs, man. He is just the quintessential of consistency, and I really think he's the kind of wide receiver. I don't believe it matters who plays quarterback.
Yeah, he's the clear-cut one, and when Ben plays quarterback, he's his trusted favorite. So he's having a great season, Pro Bowl caliber season. So yeah, good for him.
Yep, and Najee did Najee things, 21 carries, 71 yards, 5 catches for 36 yards. He's going to be the focal point next year if they bring in a young quarterback. Or a very good piece if they bring in someone, say, like an Aaron Rodgers. We shall see what they do. And the floor is yours. Cardinals and Bears.
I don't know if I'm ready to talk about it yet.
Well, guess what? This is Garbage Time Fantasy Football. So use it as your psychology. Suck it up and get it off your chest.
Yeah, the Bears offense continues to flounder, especially with Andy Dalton, who threw 0 passes over 20 yards in this one. He threw 4 picks, including an interception on a screen pass. So what an idiot I am for making that bet with Ryan last week, putting any faith in Andy Dalton. But the positive in this one for the Bears, pretty much the only positive, was David Montgomery, who showed out, was the number 1 scoring running back in fantasy this week so far. I know there's a game going on now. So, yeah, him and Mooney going forward are probably the only starters. I think Robinson's probably milking that hamstring injury as long as he can so he can get to the offseason and try and get a new contract. So,
hey,
yeah.
You didn't even mention Jimmy Graham. He's had a touchdown in the last few weeks. So what's going on with Jimmy Graham? He finishes a top 12 tight end.
He comes in the red zone. It was
1 yard
bullshit,
and a
too.
touchdown.
It was bullshit. It pisses me off. David Montgomery runs him all the way down there, then runs in a touchdown. It gets called back, and then they try to sneak with Andy Dalton. Another failed pass, and then they throw it into Jimmy Graham. It's just poor David Montgomery. He deserves better.
Paying him a ton of money to do nothing. All right, on the other side of the ball, though, Kyler Murray had a pedestrian day passing, but the rushing is really what saved him. 11 for 15, so effective. 123 yards passing. But what got him very good statistical day for fantasy was the 59 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Is he insanely viable going forward for fantasy football, and is he going to potentially be a league winner for people?
Yeah, he looked good. Combination of things as far as the passing, the conditions. It was, especially in the first half, it was really slippery and wet and windy. So it was kind of limited. And then obviously Andy Dalton threw 4 interceptions, and they had great field position the whole game. So they just weren't as many yards there for him. He didn't have to throw the ball all the way down the field. He was pretty much playing on a half field the whole game. So, and
he's got one hell of an easy schedule coming up too.
He does, and yeah, he looked good, and he was mobile and running around quickly and outrunning linebackers as he does. So yeah, going forward, he looks like he's full throttle going into next Monday night.
Yep, and great game. Hopkins looked healthy too. He got into the end zone. I think he's got hops again. So I feel pretty good about him going forward too. Do you like any other Cardinals pieces going forward? They seem to have a pedestrian week.
Yeah, just the volume wasn't there because the game script and the weather. So yeah, I mean, I think Kirk as a flex option is viable, and obviously Zach Ertz, you can play him in your tight end spot. When Murray was in, he was, earlier in the year in particular, he was throwing to the tight end a lot. Max Williams was having a great year before he got hurt. So I got no problem with Ertz going forward.
Yep. Any other thoughts on this game before we move on to the last two, JJ?
No, let's leave it in the past.
All right, let's leave this team in the past too. Giants and Dolphins. So Glennon was goddamn awful. Barkley, I think still getting some footing. He was a focal point though, 11 of 15. I believe he had 6 catches for 19 yards. But it kind of sucks when your whole offense sucks around you. Ingram 4 receptions for 61. But I'm assuming you have no interest in playing him going forward. Everyone always falls for this trap. Any interest?
In playing Evan Ingram?
Yes.
Depends. There's been some injuries. Logan Thomas got hurt. So who knows? He's streamable.
I believe Galladay got hurt in this game too, didn't he?
He did. I think he came back. I think
so hobbled at least.
Yeah, so he's another one. If I had that glass button, I would press it. But yeah, Galladay got banged up. I'm thinking that Sterling Shepard should maybe be back next week, but again, it's going to be Jake Fromm, so who the hell knows what you're going to get? The Giants are so unpredictable; it's insane.
Yeah, and here's a take that'll probably be on our top 12 for that video that JJ's making. Tua had another good game. I vomited in my mouth, 30 of 41, 244, 2 touchdowns. Waddle, his number one target, 9 catches for 90 yards, and an interesting piece coming off waivers this week, and I'm sure a lot of people will be targeting him. Parker got 5 catches for 62 yards. Gesicki even got involved. So that offense looks efficient with that asshole Tua Tagovailoa. I was wrong. What's going on here?
Well, he's heating up a little bit. The Dolphins have won 5 straight games, so they're looking good. Tua's he's having a good year. He kind of reminds me of Trubisky a little bit.
Of course.
Put the right pieces around him, protect him. He can play well. So, scary moment, and this was when Waddle went out with a knee injury, but I was really glad to see him come back. He's a great young player, so I was happy to see that.
Yeah, keep those knees safe.
Yeah, but Tua's a little bit viable going forward.
Yep. Any other thoughts on this game?
Not really.
All right, let's end this on a very unexciting note. Colts and Texans. So Wentz, 16 of 22, 1 touchdown. Taylor did Taylor things. And once again, do I need to repeat myself? Silence. You owe us a damn apology. So we'll be waiting for that. Like I said, he had a good day. Taylor, 32 carries, 2 touchdowns. Pittman, 6 of 77. T.Y. Houston didn't do what I thought he was going to do. So that was disappointing. I call him T.Y. Houston because it's the only game he produces in now. So is his career over now? Is he absolutely done for fantasy football? That was the only game he seemed to be viable in, and that was like in every game for the last 3 years. So is Hilton really done?
Yeah, I think he's
cooked.
As the kids say, washed.
Yeah, it's been nice knowing you, T.Y. Hilton. Pittman, though, bigger games going forward, do you think?
Yeah, it's it's the Derrick Henry script for the Colts, but with Jonathan Taylor. So, yeah, he's definitely viable going forward. I think their schedule coming up, they're going to have to throw a little bit more. I just looked at it a second ago, but they play the Patriots and the Cardinals in the next 2 weeks.
Yep.
So those are definitely going to be more competitive games, and Wentz is going to have to throw more. And obviously, he's their one. So.
And if there's a team you can ever skate over for fantasy football, it's the Texans. Taylor got hurt. General Mills had to come in. He sucked. Any interest in Brandon Cooks as a wide receiver 3 going forward, or are you just avoiding that altogether?
Yeah, he's viable.
As much as you don't want to say it.
Yeah, it's just a gross situation. I feel bad for the guy, honestly. The team just completely tanked around him, and he's like the only playmaker there now. So
he should force his way out of town. He really needs to force his way out of town.
What's his? I have to look at his contract, but
it's not a very good. He always makes a lot of money, and he does have a very expensive contract. That's why everybody seems to trade that contract. I don't know how much time he's got left on it, though. No matter where he goes, he always plays well, though. He's just been a very disrespected wide receiver. I don't know if he doesn't get along with locker rooms or what is his issue, but he just always gets traded.
He's definitely going to be there next year because he's a $16 million cap hit. He only carries $7 million in dead cap. Who knows? They could restructure, but yeah, they should move him in the offseason for sure.
Yeah, guys, and like we said, we're Garbage Time Fantasy Football. You can listen to us anywhere you find us: iTunes, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, www.garbagetimeff.com, where you can leave voicemails screaming us when we give you wrong takes. We will play them. We will eat our crow, just like Silence is going to have to eat his crow and leave Ron specifically an apology. Don't worry, Ron. We'll get you reading one on this show. It might take a few weeks, but we'll get you reading one. JJ, do you want to inform the heckling fandom of the little present you're making for them?
Yeah, video, it'll be coming out within probably the next couple weeks, but it is a Garbage Time Fantasy Football Christmas special. I'll be doing the 12 cold takes of Christmas, where I'll cover some of the stupid shit we said going into the season and earlier on in the season. So look for that coming out. It's going to be very entertaining. So
it'll be very entertaining to see which one of the four of us has the number one take for that video. So it's
going to be an honor. So
it's an absolute honor.
Stupid takes from everybody. So
yeah, no, I'm very much looking forward to that too. And guys, like we said, like and subscribe to these videos. Leave us reviews on Apple and enjoy the rest of that shitty Buffalo and New England weather game. So I'm going to go watch and tune into that. And with that, guys, have a good night and tune into the Waiver Show tomorrow.